Welcome to the Asshole Book Club. If you didn't watch my most recent video or listen to it, you should probably go do that because we're picking right back up with Chapter 2 of Catwoman Soul Stealer by Sarah J. Maas. But, just in case you don't want to, I will give you a quick recap. The book starts with a young Selena Kyle. She is in a gang called the Leopards working for Carmine Falcone, who is the current kingpin of Gotham City. And she's doing underground fights so she can rack up money to care for her sick sister, who has cystic fibrosis, I believe. And their mom is out of the picture. And legally no one knows that her and her sister are on their own. And then the chapter ends with the police knocking on their door. Alright. Chapter 2 of Catwoman. Shit. Selena had cataloged every possible exit from this apartment. She looked toward the window at the other end of the room. Could her sister make it down the fire escape fast enough to slip away? She'd carry Maggie if she had to. Selena winced as she shot to her feet, lingering pain lashing through her body. Maggie threw the blanket off her legs as the door rattled again. "What do we do?" she breathed. If this was about the Leopards. "We're looking for Maria Kyle," the officer said. She blew out a breath that Maggie echoed. Thank God. They dealt with this in the past several times. "Hide," Maggie mouthed. The cops would surely start asking questions if they saw her bruises. Selena shook her head, but Maggie stood and pointed to the bedroom in a silent order. Another pound on the door. Selena limped over and confirmed it was two thickly built GCPD officers standing there. One dark-haired and the other balding and mustached, before heading to the bedroom closet. A reliable hiding place in the past, a pocket of it tucked back far enough that she could remain hidden. Or put Maggie in there. Selena was just climbing in around the tightly packed clothes when Maggie opened the front door, locks clicking free. Ears straining, Selena heard her sister say quietly, the portrait of sleepy confusion, "My mom didn't come home tonight." One of the cops asked, "Can we come in?" "I'm not allowed to let in strangers," her sister said, "even cops." A pause, then a woman's voice said, "What about social workers, Maggie?" Selena's heart stopped dead. There hadn't been a woman outside when she looked, no mention of social services. Maggie stammered, "Why? My mother isn't here." "We know," the woman said calmly, but not gently. "She's down at the precinct." "Oh." Hangers rattling, Selena shoved out of the closet, pain barking down her body as she stepped over neatly folded piles of clothes. The room now a minefield keeping her from getting to the hall. She stumbled into the living room where Maggie stood before the open door, the two towering cops and a small fair woman in an ill-fitting suit. They all looked at her, the cops' eyes narrowing as they beheld the bruises and the woman's face tightening in disapproval. "Good, I'm glad you're here too," was all the social worker said. Maggie backed up to Selena's side. The officers and the social worker pushed into the apartment, shutting the door behind them. Selena knew the neighbors were likely listening through the walls as the social worker went on. "We picked up your mom earlier tonight. She's not in good shape." A glance around the apartment. "But I'm sure you know that." "We do," Selena said evenly. "You're not in good shape either," the woman added. "I'm fine. Just fell down the stairs yesterday." "Must have been some fall," one of the cops said, crossing his thick arms. A gun, a billy club, and a taser hung from his heavy belt. Selena said, "We can't make her bail." The social worker had the nerve to laugh quietly. "We're not here for that." A glance between her and Maggie. "We're here to bring you two in." "Maggie's innocent," Selena said, pushing her sister behind her. "And what about you?" the second cop said, brows rising on his meaty face. Selena ignored him, meeting the social worker's stare. There was a grand stashed in the box taped under the kitchen sink, if they wanted to be paid off. "Neither of you is in trouble, Selena Kyle," the social worker said, the embodiment of a bureaucratic, rule-abiding worker bee. "But as you're underage and living here alone," a glance around the apartment said the woman was well aware they'd been on their own for years, "we need to find a better living arrangement for both of you. There are two very nice spots and homes waiting for you right now. Foster homes, separate one." The room, the sounds, her body, they all started to feel a bit distant. "This is our home," Maggie said softly. "We're fine here." "State doesn't think so," one of the cops said, his sandy mustache yellow against his pasty skin. "Two little girls living alone in this building?" The man walked over to the kitchen and began opening cabinets. Selena's heart pounded with every groan and thud of the wood, and her hands began to shake as he stopped, opening the sink cabinets and peered in. A rip of tape, and he chuckled as he stood, cash box in hand. Flipping open the lid, he smiled at the money inside, lifted the wad of bills, and fanned them. His partner let out a low whistle of approval. "Been working on the side?" he asked Selena. The way his eyes raked over her, she knew what kind of work he thought she did. "No," was all she said. He'd known exactly where the box might be hidden. Perhaps he'd anticipated drugs instead. She would have to be better at hiding it. She should have been better at hiding it. Figured out a smarter place for that money. The social worker said, "You have a record." It was from 3 years ago. Selena's voice came out surprisingly even. "You have 2 strikes," the social worker continued. "No judge will let you stay here." She gestured to their bedroom. "Go pack your bags. Bring enough stuff for a week or 2. Maggie shook her head. "I'm not going." Selena watched as the mustached cop smiled at her and slid that grand into his pocket. Her stomach dropped to her feet, her pulse pounding through every battered inch of her. 2 corrupt cops were in her apartment and an unsympathetic social worker. Not good. Not safe. "Maggie," she murmured to her sister, "go pack your bags." Her sister refused to move. Selena turned to the woman who had now crossed her slender arms. My sister has a serious medical condition. A group home in some filthy house is not what she needs." "Every foster home in our system is constantly inspected for cleanliness and safety. Any home she goes to will meet her needs." Bullshit. She had heard from the girls in the leopards that those homes were roach palaces at best. "And as for Maggie's special needs," the woman said, patience running thin as her words turned clipped, "living with a sister who has a criminal record does not seem so safe either." Maggie snapped, "You don't know anything." Selena shot her a warning look. "Go pack your bags." Maggie shook her head, brown curls bouncing. "I'm not going." "It's nearly 1 in the morning, the social worker coaxed. "Let's get you settled somewhere safe." "I'm safe here," Maggie said, voice hitching. At the sound of it, the way Maggie's voice broke with fear, Selena's blood started roaring. "Stay calm, stay focused." Selena tried again. "If it's so late, then why don't we sleep here? You could pick us up in the morning." "And come back to find you've skipped town?" asked the dark-haired cop who hadn't pocketed her money. "Not a chance. Get your stuff now." No options, no choices, no way to figure this out. Selena put a hand on Maggie's too skinny arm. "Medications." Maggie would need to bring all of her medications with her. The touch seemed to snap some leash in her sister. Maggie bolted, not for the bedroom, but for the apartment door. For a moment, the world slowed and bent. All Selena saw was her sister, so frail and small, sprinting past those cops, hair flying behind her. All she saw was the closest cop, the mustached one with her money in his pocket, lunging for Maggie, his enormous hand reaching for her delicate arm. And as that hand closed around Maggie's arm, as her rasping inhale of breath of pain at the tightness of the grip filled the apartment, the world, Selena exploded. The dark-haired cop went down first. Uppercut to his head to get his head up, then elbow to the nose to put him on the ground. He was unconscious before he hit the carpet. The social worker screeched, but Selena was already on the mustache cop, now whirling towards her, that meaty hand still on Maggie's arm. Selena barreled into him. Selena barreled into him. He dropped Maggie immediately, both of his hands grappling to shove Selena off as they slammed into the wall, cracking the plaster. "You little," he spat, as his words were cut short. His words were cut short as Selena ducked out of his grasp, dodged the fumble he made to grab her again, and her fist connected with his face. Her body sang in agony, wounds ripping open, bruises bleeding. "Run," she managed to say to Maggie. But her sister remained frozen, gaping, terror draining the color from her face. Slim white hands wrapped around Maggie's arm again, the social worker. "She's not going anywhere." And those hands, and that cold, hateful face. Selena shoved the woman hard. Hard enough that the social worker went careening into the table, scattering the chairs. Maggie screamed and Selena whirled, fists up, knee bending. Too slow. The mustache cop had risen to his feet. She didn't have time to try to dodge before volts of pain tore through her, before his leering, bloody face smiled as he dug a taser right into her neck. Agony barreled in, and then the world tilted. Then nothing. The humming of the fluorescent lights was what awoke her. Her tongue was a dry, thick weight in her mouth. Her head, a pounding mess. Her body? Sitting in a chair, handcuffed to the metal table before her. Precinct room. Selena groaned quietly, surveying the space. Tiny. No one-way mirror, no speakers or cameras or anything. She tugged on the cuffs linked to the table to see if they were secured. They were. Maggie. The metal door hissed open and Selena braced herself. It wasn't the blonde social worker in her cheap suit or the cop who looked at her a little too long. A tall, slim woman with night black hair and skin like golden honey entered instead. Selena had seen enough of the various businessmen who Falcone liked to associate himself with to know that the white pantsuit was high quality. And from her work with Mika, she knew that the simple, elegant gold jewelry at her neck and ears was real and expensive. The manicured nails, the silky sheet of hair cut into stylish layers, the full mouth painted red were all markers that screamed money. This was no social worker. Those crimson nails tapped against a thick file in her hands as she approached the table and the empty chair before it. Selena's file. Not good. "Where's Maggie?" The words were a low rasp. Water. She needed some water. And aspirin. "My name is Talia. Where is Maggie?" Keeping her head upright took every bit of effort thanks to the taser bruise that still radiated pain down her neck and spine. "Your name is Selena Kyle, and you are 17 years old. 3 weeks away from being 18. A click of the tongue as she slid into the metal chair across the table, opened up that fat file and began flipping through the pages. The table was too long for Selena to see what the woman was examining. "For someone so young, you've certainly accomplished an impressive amount. flick, flap, hiss. Illegal betting, assault, robbery. Shame and pride warred through her. Shame for the fact that if Maggie ever heard this, the unvarnished truth of her crime, Selena knew she couldn't endure the look she'd see on her sister's face. Pride for the fact that she had done this, had survived in the best way she could, had given her sister what she could as well. But Selena managed to keep her voice cool, bored, as she replied, I was never convicted of the last two. No, but the charges are on here, Talia countered, tapping a red nail on the paper. And you will be convicted of in a matter of days. What you will be convicted of in a matter of days is aggravated battery of 2 police officers and a state worker. Selena just stared at the woman from beneath lowered brows. No way out of this room, this precinct. And even if she did make it, then she'd have to find Maggie, which would be the first stop the cops would make too. Talia smiled slightly, revealing 2 white teeth. Did the police give you those bruises? Selena didn't reply. Talia flicked through those papers again, scanning for something. Or are those bruises and split knuckles from the fighting you do for Carmine Falcone? Silence. Leopards didn't talk. Selena hadn't the first 2 times she'd been here, and she wasn't about to now. Do you know what it means to be 3 weeks away from 18 in Gotham City? Talia leaned forward, resting her arms on the metal table. There was a slight accent to her words, some rolling purr. I can buy lotto tickets? Again, that hint of a smile. It means you will be lucky if the judge tries you as a juvenile. It's your 3rd strike. You're looking at bars no matter what. The question is whether it's kiddie prison or the big girls club. Where is Maggie? The question was a roar in her blood, a screaming, thrashing demand. Talia leaned back in her chair and slid a paper-clipped file towards Selena. Your sister is at a group home in the Bowery of the East End. Oh God. If their apartment complex was garbage, then the Bowery was the entire dump. The gangs in that area, even Falcone didn't mess with them. Selena set her bound hands on the file Talia had pushed over. The photo of a grimy, cramped bedroom atop it. Maggie's new bedroom. She turned the paper over, fingers curling. Lord knows who's running that home, Talia mused, flipping through the rest of Selena's file. Are you trying to piss me off so they can add assaulting a grade A asshole to my rap sheet? The question was out, low and growling, before Selena could reconsider. Talia laughed, a light and silvery sound. Do you think you could do it, handcuffed? A faint click sounded in answer. Rotating her free wrist, Selena dropped the straightened paperclip onto the table. A sleight of hand turning over that photo of Maggie's foster home to distract the eye while she palmed the paperclip, and then used it and some careful angling to spring the handcuffs free. She'd bought a pair a few years ago to use for practice, to learn how the locking mechanism worked, for precisely this sort of moment. Talia smiled again, full and wide, and let out a satisfied hum. Clever girl. She jerked her chin toward Selena's free hand. I'd suggest putting it back on. You know how uptight the police can be about such things. She did, and she knew that even if she unlocked the other cuff and pummeled the woman's face in, she still wouldn't make it out of the holding room of the precinct. Selena clicked the handcuff back around her wrist, leaving it loose enough that she could free herself again should the need arise. Talia watched every movement, head angled to the side. Dark hair shifting. I'm here to offer you a bargain, Selena Kyle. Selena waited. Talia closed her file. I run a vocational school for young women like you. Physically skilled, yes? A nod towards the cuffs, the bruises on her face. But smart most of all. She placed a hand on the file. I've got chart after chart of your grades, your exam scores. Do your little kitty cat friends know you're top of your class and that you aced all statewide exams? I don't know what you're talking about. She'd made sure the leopards never heard about it as well. Being good in the ring with a bullwhip and gymnastics was about as much talent as she'd let show. Selena leaned forward a bit. Acing tests doesn't win fights. Another laugh, this one low and sultry. You know, if your frequent absences didn't bar you from graduating this year, you might have been able to have your pick of scholarships. College wasn't a possibility, not with Maggie to look after. This school of mine, though, Talia said, tracing a nail over the surface of the file, like a long red talon. It would be a new start, and a better fit than juvie, or prison. With every passing minute she spent in here, Maggie was in that disgusting home, breathing in filth and dirt. The catch, before you ask, is that my school is located in the Dolomites of Italy, and your sister cannot come. Selena blinked, processing what the woman had said. A school in Italy, no Maggie. If you come with me, Talia went on, I can make this record, a tap of the hand on the file, vanish forever. Selena studied the file and then Talia's beautiful face. These offers didn't come without major strings. I don't give a shit about the record. I want Maggie out of that house. Talia blinked, the only sign of surprise. I want my sister put in a single-family foster home with good people who are willing to adopt her. Somewhere in a cushy suburb, no gangs, no violence, no drugs. Silence. Selena added softly, and I want you to make sure my mother is never able to get her hands on Maggie again. The lights above hummed. Talia's hands scraped over the rough surface of the file folder as she slid her hands into her lap. You're in no position to make demands. Selena leaned back in her chair, refusing to break the woman's dark gaze. If you want me so badly for your human trafficking club, you'll do it. Talia burst out laughing. There was no joy in the sound. Selena rolled her shoulders and waited. Talia chuckled once more before tossing her sheet of hair over her shoulder. I'll make it happen. Selena didn't let her shock show. There is one more condition, Talia said, rising from the table. Of course there was. Selena monitored her every breath. We leave tonight, and you will not get to say goodbye. For a moment, Selena didn't hear the words, or the hum of the lights, or the click of Talia's beige heels as she strutted for the door. She heard that damned carousel song. And Selena was still hearing it as she said, voice thick, take off the cuffs. The tarmac of the private airport was empty. Empty save for the sleek white jet idling just off the runway, its steps already lowered to reveal a near-glowing wooden interior. The perfect match to the Aston Martin that Selena had just vacated. Talia was already striding towards the plane. Rubbing her wrist, Selena walked after the woman, glancing toward the glittering city skyline to their left. The eastern horizon was just beginning to lighten. Dawn. Her body ached. Everything ached. Not just bone and flesh. Selena shoved down the thought as she took in Gotham City, the light and the shadow. A cool wind whipped at her face, dragging strands of her hair free as she caught up to Talia's side just before the woman began to ascend the steps into the private plane. A flight attendant waited at the top of the stairs, a tray with 2 glasses of champagne fizzing in her hands. Is this your plane? Selena asked Talia, as Talia braced a hand on the stair rail and set a well-heeled foot on the first step. It is. This school, then, Selena again glanced towards the horizon, to where she prayed Maggie was being shuttled through the streets, to the trees and open air of the quiet of the suburbs. She swallowed, trailing Talia up the narrow steps of the plane, the private plane. Are you a Wayne or something? The Waynes did plenty of charity work, and a fancy Italian school for wayward young women didn't seem beyond them. Talia let out a low laugh and didn't bother to turn as she reached the top stair, swiped a flute of champagne from the flight attendant, and said, "No, my family name is Al Ghul." And that is where that chapter ends. Wow. I really like how descriptive this author is, even if I butcher most of the sentences. And yeah, she really knows how to set a scene. Not much else to say. Like, shortening it, not too much happened. She got locked up, got made an offer. Most Batman and Gotham fans will recognize the name Al Ghul because of Ra's al Ghul. And yeah, we can only make assumptions as to where it'll go from there. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing, and leave a comment down below on what you think of the story so far. Have a great day, everyone, and I will see you later.